Okay, the pots are coming up. One of the men shouted, "Prepare the deck!"
On it! The woman smiled beneath the spray of the sea, her dark hair plastered to her face from the ocean's waves. She laughed as she readied for the crab pot to be pulled onto the deck, her mismatched eyes wide when the shutter hit the boat. The line creaked, groaning as if a weight it hadn't expected was placed on it. The woman frowned, other deckhands all looking over the edge of the boat into the dark Arctic waters. "Oliver, what's going on?" she shouted, looking at the crane operators whose eyes were wide as he tried to get the trap up.
I'm trying to see. Mooney, can you go check on the radars? I think we're snagged on something,"
he stated, leaning out of the control nest to look at her. She gave a sigh and pinched between her eyes before heading towards the cabin, peeking inside to look at the monitors and the captain.
"What's going on?" the shorter man huffed. "What's got the trap stuck?"
"That's what I want to know. The scans seemed clean when I was looking at them earlier before we hooked the buoys." She pursed her lips as she looked at the scanners and narrowed her gaze.
May have to cut it," the captain noted as he stood beside her. "We can drop a marker to come back out to retrieve it from the dive boat. What do you think, Eclipse?"
"No, it's not stuck," she noted as she traced a finger on it. "It looks like it's hooked something. Similar sized. Maybe someone left a pot out. So it's a weight issue, not a snag." She gave a sigh of relief. Eclipse straightened up and headed back. "Oliver, give it another go. Connie, put the boat in reverse and we'll use the momentum of the ship to try and move the line." The ship began to move, deckhands rushing to brace as the engine shifted to pull, the crane creaking as once again attempted to pull the trap from the sea. Slowly the line creaked, the weight making the deck stare in confusion. They had stuck lines, they had had fish caught on it, they'd had heavy pots, but normally they'd pull up fine. It was almost like the line knew something they didn't and was trying its hardest to keep it in the sea.
I can see him, Mooney!
Oliver shouted as the winch continued its pull. She grabbed one of the hooks to grab the pot, pausing at what broke the water's surface. Every set of eyes blinked at the dark shape. The crab pot was there, but caught in the tangled cord was something they didn't expect, more so at sea, much less so far north where ice floats ruled supreme.
"Is that a coffin?" One voice broke the silence. "No, it's a casket," another stated, breaking the tension.
"It's a coffin." Eclipse mumbled as she got on the edge of the boat, using the hook to grab and pull it in the trap closer. "Caskets are rectangular. This is six-sided. It's a coffin." She sputtered the facts to keep her mind from wandering. How had a coffin ended up in the Northern Sea? Had it fallen from a ship in transport? Had someone tried hiding something? But the box. The dark shimmer of the slightly rusted outsides. Not just rust. Some gold could be seen in the oxidation. Maybe not true gold, but the shimmer was strange, ornate. She narrowed her eyes, gloved hands gripping the side as she pulled it onto the deck. The crew was quiet as it hit the deck. A low thump, the sound of something inside hitting the lid. Is there a body there?" Oliver inquired, voice shivering as he adjusted his glasses once more, his anxiety palpable. He shut the crane down to walk over with the rest of the crew.
"It's metal," one of the men pointed out with a gruff scoff in his voice, attempting to hide his own shock and confusion.
"Yeah, rusted. Must have been in there a while." Eclipse looked around before grabbing a crowbar with a caught breath hushing over the entire deck. The soft breaths of anticipation, the cold air heavy. The crowbar found the lip of the box.
"Are you sure it's good to open it?"
Conrad had emerged from the cabin, his arms crossed and his brow furrowed.
"Will be a reason it's thrown in the drink."
He tapped his foot on the ground, looking at the gaze of the young woman as she sneered. "Yeah, because knowing what's in there is how we determine the next step. It's a coffin, very clear from the shape. The fact that it's metal is interesting, but it's gilded. Opening it should give us an idea of what lurks within it. Then we can contact the appropriate places. Or we throw it back overboard." She grunted as she jammed the rod into the seal and put her weight down, the crack resonating. The deck went dead silent, as if even the sea saw the oddity that was spreading before them. The dry interior, the arms crossed, the silver cross. Wind blew over the crew as they stood staring at the contents. A body. There was a body inside. He was tall, which explained the large coffin, dressed in odd clothing that made him appear from another lifetime, but his skin held a tone unbefitting for what they could only assume was a corpse. It seemed warmer than even the woman who'd opened the box, her mismatched eyes wide as she looked at him. "Call the Coast Guard!" she mumbled in her shock. She hadn't actually expected a body. She'd expected hidden cash, maybe gems. The box had been too weird even if it was shaped like a coffin. But a body? She hadn't counted on an actual body, much less a body that looked alive. Heck, she'd be less shocked if it was filled with shrimp, maybe an eel. But a body? She narrowed her eyes. Maybe it's fake? She reached down, her gloves brushing across on his chest, the motion pushing it aside. She flinched when a hand grabbed hers. Tight. She gulped, looking down as bright yellow eyes opened and he lunged from the box, mouth open to reveal fangs. She grunted and with a movement threw him down on the deck, right into the pile of fish they had for bait. He seemed dazed, Oliver screeching as if he'd been attacked, Conrad's voice sharp on the radio. The man, the thing with fangs from a box in the sea, was sitting there dazed, golden eyes spinning as she pointed the sharp end of the hooked fishing pole at him, her eyes narrowed. What the fuck are you?" she barked at him. "What the fuck are you?" He was quiet, covered in fish, his dark outfit slimy with the mucus exuded by the bait. He blinked a few times, as if tracking his own thoughts before speaking. "I don't really know." His voice was deep and a bit dry, as if he'd been thirsty for a long time. He shifted to lean up on the pile of fish, holding his face with a wince of pain. Where is this?" He grimaced as he looked at the fish, his fangs showing from his mouth. He focused on the spear edge that was still aimed at him, eyes wide. "A boat in the Arctic Sea," Eclipse stated in a flat tone, "and you just came out of water in a coffin from over 100 meters down." I was what?" His voice pinched as if shocked at the revelation. No, I was getting ready for my wedding. I was just..." Eyes looking back at the woman. His eyes seemed off. She backed up, nearly falling off the coffin she had thrown him from. She looked into it and picked up the cross that had been in it. She held it up and his face went pale, a primal hiss ripping from his mouth. She made a choke noise before throwing at his head, the metal cracking his nose, sending him curling up into the fetal position in the fish pile, groaning in pain. "This movie is strange." Hattie threw popcorn at her dad, who grunted, "Can we watch cartoons?" "Harriet, we're barely into it. I want to watch Stop." Aurelius laughed as he grabbed the bowl from her and grunted when she climbed over him. "Sweetheart, stop." Eclipse laughed as she grabbed for her daughter, pulling her down to the couch with a huff. "Grandfather wrote it, so let's keep watching. You know how Connie loves his explosions." "Yeah, but it's so boring. A vampire in the ocean? Who's gonna believe that? Like, a sea monster like Dad is one thing, but a vampire? That's like pulling a werewolf out of a spaceship." Hattie whined as she laid on the bed with a pout. "It's slow." "Well, Connie did mention something about a different pace with this one. Something about inspired by true events. Whatever that means." Aurelius threw popcorn in his mouth with a grimace. "What even is with that? And please tell me you don't happen to see the odd resemblance." He pointed at the movie that continued to play on the TV. Eclipse's face began to flush, coughing to clear her throat. "Wait, are you saying Grandpa based it on you and Mom? But you weren't in a box. I brought you home." Hattie huffed, jumping up and grabbing her sandals. "I'm gonna go bug Grandpa." "Hattie, wait!" Her mother groaned as she got up to chase her daughter, who was already out the door. Aurelius sighed, pausing the film as he chewed on the slightly burnt popcorn, leaning back on the couch. He felt his own face burn as the realization hit. He set the bowl down before chasing his girlfriend and daughter. "Conrad, you bastard!" he shouted. He knew the real event Conrad had picked, and he lamented it still, groaning as he ran towards the old man's house with both anger and embarrassment radiating from his face.
Hi. That was fun, wasn't it?
This was actually the story I wrote for April Fool's Day this year for my fanfiction, The Little Contractor. Every year on April Fool's, I do a joke chapter where it turns out to be some form of media that someone in the story is reading. But oftentimes, it's just something silly. We've had a werewolf novel, we've had a gender bend. I think last year I had Rue turned into like this little shrimpy creature. But yeah, it was just a fun thing. And I had asked the chat when I had been working on it, I was just like, should I narrate the chapter as the Speedpaint audio? And the answer was unanimously yes. So that is what you just watched and listened to. Thanks for hanging around. And see you in the end credits.
A big thank you to my Patreon supporters, Submissive Durg and Pira Vermel. Thank you guys so much for your support. It really means a lot. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!